Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering creativity. I'm Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Just a heads up, everyone, that my new book, Entangleism, The Small Science and Big Art of Loving Your Life, is out and available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. I encourage you to check it out. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Bill Neri, who serves as the Director of Ensemble Advancement for the Sphinx Organization. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
So obviously, I am so excited to talk with you. It's obviously amazing to have someone from the Sphinx team on the show talking about all of the extraordinary work that the entire team is doing, and especially what you lead. And so what I wanted to actually just start off first is, can you share with the audience kind of Director of Ensemble Advancement, right? What does this mean? What kind of falls in your purview in this leadership role at Sphinx?
For sure. Great question. And like I said before, thank you so much for having me. I've been a fan for a long time. Every time these videos come into my inbox, I get really excited to see who you're chatting with and learn more about the world. So my role as you of all people should be aware of the hats that folks wear at the Sphinx organization are multifold. So I run a few different programs within the Sphinx organization, including the National Alliance for Audition Support, our SOPA excerpt competition, and also, of course, serving as the general manager of the Sphinx Virtuosi. So it's kind of a catch-all term of encompassing all the different ensembles I advance, whether it is an internal ensemble, the Sphinx Virtuosi, or the ensembles of the field that we try to work together collectively to increase and support our missions collectively. But I'm happy to be chatting a lot about the Virtuosi today. A lot going on in the world right now with the Virtuosi, and excited to chat more about that.
Totally, absolutely. And it's awesome, and wanted kind of just our audience to know or get a sense of that breadth that we're going to go deep into the virtuosi, but just this cross section of literally, overseeing and managing, partnerships with actually more than 100. So literally hundreds of organizations and ensembles, obviously orchestras, and impacting so many musicians and the trajectories of their lives. So it is truly incredible. So the Sphinx Virtuosi, there may be someone in our audience who does not know about the Sphinx Virtuosi. So can you give us a good overview of first, how's the ensemble comprised, et cetera, and what's the main focus?
Totally. So the Sphinx Virtuosi, we are the flagship touring ensemble of the Sphinx organization. We are the representation on stage of the best that Sphinx organization has to offer, comprised predominantly of a lot of laureates and previous winners of the flagship program, the Sphinx competition. And what we do is we tour all over the country. We're a self-conducted chamber orchestra, string orchestra of 18 string players, all of Black and Latino origin. And we, for many years now, have been touring almost exclusively works by underrepresented composers. And we embark on a national tour every season, starting usually in October. And we have a few different touring segments throughout the year that goes all the way until, at least this season, until March. And we're playing at over 20 cities this year. And we've had seasons in previous years where we've played close to like 30 different cities. So it's a lot of plane time, a lot of bus time, and of course, most importantly, a lot of amazing performances.
Well, it's truly extraordinary, and especially two things that I wanted to, a number of things, but especially two initial things. So one is conductorless. Right. So we think of a lot of ensembles, they have, the maestro, et cetera. Can you share with us just a little about the trajectory and ethos of this idea of being a conductorless ensemble?
Yeah, it's It's really striking to be in the audience and have a really, especially with classical music, have a very specific expectation of what you're about to see. And then when all of a sudden one of the main anchors or focal points of a traditional symphonic concert, the conductor, is no longer there, the audience member is kind of bewildered a little bit. There's a little bit of a shock factor. But it couldn't feel more natural to the members of the orchestra. The orchestra began actually under a different name, the Sphinx Chamber Orchestra in 2004 to kind of serve as like the main performing entity of the initial galas that the Sphinx Organization had. And tours began to evolve out of that. We said, all right, we're having one concert. Why don't we throw in a few other concerts to warm us up and to spread this love around a little bit? And a few years later, we had 10 city tours that came out of that. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And at some point along the way, someone came up to somebody else and said, "Hey, what are we doing with a conductor in front of us? I don't think we really need that." You were around for that time, so I feel like you would be a better person to tell that exact story. That was before my time, but yeah, in 2004 was the initial year of the Sphinx Chamber Orchestra, and then changed its name in 2008 to the Virtuosi, and we've been a self-conducted chamber orchestra ever since.
So it really is, it's amazing, and it's of course extraordinary to see on stage. So anyone in the audience, if you have not seen the Sphinx Virtuosi live, and of course they have amazing recordings, which I'll also ask you about. But if you have a chance, if they're in a city near you, check them out, and if not, even come to Carnegie Hall, which we'll also talk about. But before we get there, I just wanted to kind of ask about this idea of their conductorless, and I'm just wondering, as you mentioned the amazing repertoire that the orchestra performs, the ensemble performs, and wondering, is there an ethos involved in that, and even in the programming, the repertoire selection? Of course, I know Afa leads, as the artistic director, but just curious, could you kind of share how are the musicians involved? Even in the architecture and the
Sure.
curation of what they do.
Totally. It's a very unique beast. And I say that with love. I have played in a lot of different orchestras. I'm a violist. I perform in the virtuosi as well. So I have this kind of dual role of being like in the trenches, but also kind of building the trenches. And I have the privilege of leading the ensemble in a number of ways, administratively and otherwise. And your one question, how are the programs built? Of course, with primary leadership from our artistic director, Afa. And I think she realized a number of years ago that there's just such a pool of talent and great minds that deserve to be tapped into. All these amazing players who are frequently performing with orchestras all over the country, both as soloists and as players in orchestras. They're professors at universities and conservatories. These are top level players who are playing otherwise in amazing stages all over the world. And so she was probably thinking, well, what do they think about XYZ piece? And so, the bulk of the theme and framework of the programs, whether it's Visions of Peace or Songs for Our Times, are kind of drafted and brought by AFA and senior leadership. And then from there, suggestions are welcome because there are so many pieces that, not one person has heard everything. And there are so many gems out there and undiscovered works that people have either performed recently or are unearthing themselves or even arranging, which is another thing we could talk about more, that deserve to have the time in people's ears all over the world. And so there's a lot of involvement from the players on the artistic side, but also from a sort of a architectural side. We ask the players who, again, are seasoned veteran touring musicians from other orchestras all over the world. And I love their input on things like, hey, how many stops should the bus take on a 6 hour long bus ride? What's standard for you? What are your expectations? Having a sense of like bilateral flow in an ensemble is so crucial to foster a sense of belonging and community. Otherwise, you take away the conductor, but then you still have this sense of oppression that they're just being told what to do all the time. So I really take that seriously, that everybody feels like they have a seat at the table and that the door is always open and that their ideas are all really welcomed.
It's truly amazing. And I would say that that comes through in the performances. The audience shares in that idea that this is an ensemble of soloists who have all are not just performing, but they have the ownership in that they were part of the creation of the program and even of the logistics that enabled them to
Sure.
get to the stage. And so it really is an extraordinary story. So there is a major thing coming up for the Virtuosi, in addition to their whole tour, which I encourage everyone to go to the website to figure out and to check out if they'll be near you. But Carnegie Hall, can you just tell us a little bit about that performance and especially what is the theme for the program this year?
Totally. So, Visions of Peace is the theme of the program. And we are very fortunate that we get to perform at Carnegie Hall every year. It is one of our big anchors of the season, not just because it's an amazing performance, but it's a part of our gala of for the Sphinx organization. And what gala in our field would, what would it be like if there was no performance as a part of it? So the Virtuosi are kind of that anchor for the gala, and we always perform. Sometimes it's a special concert. We bring in special soloists, and it's always a party. So if you're around October 17th this year, there's plenty of tickets. So please get your seat at the gala. The theme of the program, like I said, Visions of Peace. It's in what we do, we are in other classical concerts, in other orchestras, they're sometimes archaeologists in a way, unearthing old works and sharing things that have been and have been done. And there's a lot of historical reference and parallels to the way that history once was. Beethoven's Eroica Symphony and the things that Napoleon was doing and how that relates to tyranny and stuff today. But hey, we got to play Beethoven. We're not so much about that. Like we have music that is written today by composers who are mostly still around and will be at the concert or even playing in the orchestra. Our title work, Visions of Peace, is written by composer and cellist Quentin Blash, who performs with the Virtuosi, who knows exactly what it's like to be in the ensemble and has written the music specifically for us. And it's Visions of Peace. I mean, what better conversation could we be having right now in the times that we're facing? And I think it's really great to bring everybody into this intimate space, this sacred hall of a concert venue, close the doors behind us, and for an hour just enjoy music and share this common story that really brings everybody together. Other featured works are an arrangement arranged by Ruben Rengel, the Prokofiev piano sonata titled Stalingrad, one of his three war sonatas. So one of the movements from that work, an absolute mammoth piece, an undertaking by Ruben to arrange the piano sonata for a string orchestra, so arranging up. And he so far it seems like he really nailed it. We haven't played it yet, but it's a lot of notes and a lot of fun, but also ties to that theme again. And so we're going back a little bit, but how relevant are those stories that we're kind of all chewing on today, and how it's facing us both internally as a nation, externally as well. But musically, I think there's a lot of that conversation that we're bringing to the table.
It is just truly extraordinary. So I encourage everyone check it out. And I guess they can go either to Carnegie Hall's website directly or to sphinxmusic.org to be able to get their tickets. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you could go to our website on the Sphinx Virtuosi page. You'll be able to see all the tickets for all of our performances for the whole season. But yeah, then of course for the Carnegie Hall concert. So do get your tickets while you still can, and also take a look if you're not in the New York area or not willing to make the trip just for that performance. We're in the Southeast, we're in the Midwest, we're on the West Coast this year. We're doing it all.
Awesome, awesome. So unfortunately, we are just about out of time. But I always like to ask of all of my guests, right? This work, it is so the passion that you have for everything that you do, the full breadth of virtuosi and beyond, is so evident. But there has to be some challenging days, days where something's not panning out or working out, or I can't even begin to imagine logistics for the tour. And just wondering, as an arts leader, do you have any mechanisms or approaches that you use that help you through the toughest of times?
I love this question, and I think it's one whose answer changes a lot for people, and I think it's a great one to ask your guests. And for me, I think it's a lesson I learned a few years ago, probably on one of my first Virtuosi tours, is to have a diverse fulfillment portfolio. And what that means to me is not to extract all of my value and fulfillment from one singular thing, which is the conditioning that a lot of musicians have grown into of like, I will be the absolute best at this and it will make me happy and it will pay me money and I will get acclaim and fame and that's all I need and I'm going to sacrifice everything else. And I found the exact opposite to be true, to diversify all the things that bring me joy and make me feel like a fully fledged, fulfilled, valued human being. And so for me, that could include like my film club that I created, I'm a part of. So I'm a big film nerd. It could include sports. I'm a big F1 fan. So watching Formula One races while I'm on tour, inviting all my friends to come to my hotel room at 7 in the morning to watch the Japanese Grand Prix. That's sometimes, is a step too far for some of my colleagues, but there are things in the world beyond the notes on the page that can bring a lot of joy that then make me a full human being that then cycle back and bring me back to the stage and make that moment even bigger because it's a representation of who I am both as a musician but just as a human.
Bill Neri, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing for our field, for Sphinx, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm really happy to have done it.
Just a heads up, everyone, that my new book, Entangleism, The Small Science and Big Art of Loving Your Life, is out and available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. I encourage you to check it out.